And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is Nancy Thames, former Department of Defense employee and lifelong contactee of extraterrestrial beings. Her journey is marked by personal struggles that transformed profoundly through her continuous extraterrestrial encounters. She is the creator of TimeForDisclosure.com, a platform advocating for open dialogue about extraterrestrial interactions and their greater implications for humanity. Nancy, thank you for joining me today and welcome.
Thank you. I'm proud to be here.
Nancy, let's start with, how did this all begin for you?
Well, it's been happening all my life. And my first recollections, thinking back in the past, when I was a toddler, I would have visitations. And when I was really small, I would see them as they were, and it didn't bother me. So they would come and get me, and they would take my hand and guide me up through the ceiling or through the wall or through a window. And it was always very playful, very pleasant, and always positive. It was an experience that I actually look forward to. So that went on all through, like, being a toddler and through early grade school.
When you say they led you through the walls and through the roof,
Yes.
does that mean with or without your body?
With my body.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll explain this to you. So as I got older and I realized that this was not a topic that you could discuss openly, my family, my parents told me, don't talk about this at school. You don't talk about this outside of the household. And I think that they kind of thought it was like a child would have an imaginary friend. So, and they just thought it was a very vivid imagination, because a lot of times I would go in their room and say, oh, they're in my room. You know, these little people are in my room. And one time I was afraid they were going to take a suitcase that I had gotten for Christmas. I don't know why I thought that. But my parents were just say, go back to bed. You're just having a very imaginative dream. So, all my life, they would come and get me, and it would happen this way. And the older I got and the more I realized that this was not something that was happening to other people, I started paying more attention to it. And that's when I began to realize that when they would come into the room, I would feel their presence. And a lot of times I would keep my eyes closed. They may have told me mentally just to keep my eyes closed, or I did it on my own because I didn't want to open them and see. So at that point, they would scan my body from head to toe to head, and I would be vibrating. My body would be vibrating. And it was a strange sensation. It wasn't unpleasant at all. It was more on the pleasant side. So it was like from toes to head, and my body would be vibrating. So then after a few minutes of that, all of a sudden I would feel, before the vibrating, I would feel my blanket come off of me, and then the vibrating would start. And then after that, I would feel myself floating up. And as I would be floating up, I would look down and see my empty bed. And then I would look over and I would be holding the hand of a female gray. And this female gray has been with me all my life. From the very beginning up until this day, she is who transports me from wherever I am. And it could be anywhere in another country or on vacation. It could be anywhere. She transports me from wherever I am to craft, and it's always her. And so as I've gotten older, I never understood how in the world could they get me, or how could I go through the ceiling or the roof or through a door. But I understand now, because I'm much older and I've been paying more attention and asking them for more conscious time so that I could remember things. So as I've gotten older, what has been explained to me is that the whole time when I was laying there and felt like I was vibrating, what they were doing was changing my frequency. Being 3D, you're not able to go and go through the walls and things of this nature without them changing my vibrational frequency to theirs. So once they changed me to theirs, then I could do as they do. And that's how they would take me to craft.
You knew that this was always the same ET taking you up. What were the characteristics she had that, we're able to notice her versus another ET?
It's a feeling. First of all, they speak with you telepathic, and it's a feeling, a bond feeling. It's the most beautiful feeling I've ever felt in my whole life. But she and I have a bond. She has been with me since my birth here into the human experience. She has been with me. And I also found out because my children have experiences as well. And my son and I, this past September, we went to Mexico because they wanted us to go. And they orchestrated getting us, and we got ourselves down there, and they wanted us to go up into these mountains. And they wanted me to experience meeting an indigenous tribe there that was on the verge of ascension, but it stopped because their generation, younger generation, doesn't want to maintain their values and maintain their culture and things. They're more interested in going to bigger cities like Mexico City, or even coming to the United States or Canada or somewhere, or Europe, because they have an interest in materialistic things and technology. So they wanted me to experience the end of a Zapotec indigenous tribe in Mexico, and they lived on this mountain. They are called the people of the clouds. So they wanted my son and I both to experience and understand how we have to use our intellect to take technology, use it to our advantage, but not let it not be so obsessed with it that we lose our values and our important ways of life. So the reason I brought this up, though, is because when we were there, they came to see us every night. We had visits with them. My son and I both do. But my son and I, we figured out the three that come for me, the gray hybrids that come for me, always travel in three. And the ones that are my caretakers or transporters are not the same ones that transport him. He has his own people. So when they come for him and I wake up, they tell me, go back to sleep, and press on my shoulder, lay back down. And this is not about you, is what they say to me. This is not about you. And then I'll go back to sleep. And then, my son, they're there for him. And then he has his experience and visitation with them. So we found out that the hybrids that come for me, they're about 4 foot, possibly 5 foot. And it's the same ones that always come for me. And my son has different ones. I knew that they were not the same ones. I knew, I could feel it. It's a different frequency, a different vibrational feeling. And so when this happens to you and your child in a room, it does not matter. There is no negotiating. They are there. They are a hybrid race of the tall grays, and they are like worker bees, so to speak. They are biological and they have souls, but they are a hybrid off of the tall grays and the interdimensionals, which are of many different races. There are many humanoid looking races, and there are, some tall grays, and there are some, once in a blue moon, I will see a reptilian, but not all the time. So basically, once these hybrids are, escorts, once we get on craft, we really don't see them much anymore. That's pretty much their job. And the reason why they like to use them is because the interdimensionals really don't like the density of Earth. So they created these little gray hybrids to do their back and forth. It's a lot easier, and they are adapted for it with their DNA. They are tweaked, and they can do these things a lot easier than the interdimensionals.
You said that she has been with you since birth.
Yes.
Is it possible that she's even been with you pre-birth?
Probably. One thing that I have, as I've gotten older, and I have said, I want to know why me. I want to know, what does this all mean? What is the purpose of this? What is the agenda? So as I've gotten older, and this started in early 30s, late 20s, and they took me before a group of elders. And so when I went aboard what they called elders, this was a group of different dimensions, different races, and I couldn't tell you the number of them. There were many. And I went before them and asked them these questions, and they told me that I had made an agreement before being born into human life. I had made an agreement to come here and to be here at this time to assist humanity and help them to understand that they have been fed a lot of misinformation, and for me to explain the real reasons, which they told me that I would learn and grow into this. So they told me, that I had made a choice, and I said, well, how do I know this? So they showed me a vision. They showed me sitting in a non-physical form as a being, and then they showed me myself go into a fetus and become a physical being. And they told me that when I was born, that it would be a long time before I would start to remember these things, and that they would come and see me throughout my life and explain this. So they showed me this as I am now. So then a lot of it made sense, because other times whenever I was having horrible things happen in my life, I've been through 2 divorces, different things going on. Everybody's life is not a bed of roses, and mine certainly wasn't. But they would always come to me and tell me if this was ever too much for me, I could always come home. And until I got in my later years, it didn't resonate with me that this was not my home. This is my home. I have family. So I didn't understand what they meant, but now I do. And I understand a lot more that I was an extraterrestrial before I came here. And I have come to find out that there's many other people like me that have incarnated here from different races, not just one race, but different individuals have incarnated here to be here at this time to help us raise the vibrational level of humanity, for one, and 2, just to be the stepping stones to get us to understand we are not alone in the universe. We've never been alone, in that we have great things that can happen for us, and they are here to assist us. They cannot fix everything for us. Just like when we have our children, they make a mistake, they suffer the consequences, they have to learn from their mistakes. We are here on free will. They cannot come down, interfere, or fix anything. They can advise us. And my job, my mission here is to help humanity understand these things, and that they are here and they appreciate and love our planet and everything on it. And human beings are just a very minute part of what they love about our planet. They see our planet as a living being. They love and worship her. They want us to learn and understand that she is a living being and that we should take better care of her. They took me when I was in Mexico. They took us out in the forest and explained to us that everything is alive. Everything is alive. And they took their arms out like this and said, everything is alive. The trees are alive. They are living beings. The flowers, all insects, everything is alive and a being. And so they wanted us to understand these things, and for me to experience these things so that I can tell people about it. And they said, right now, we cannot see or communicate with a tree or plants, but our science is smart enough to know that that's a possibility. And our science is smart enough to know that we don't see everything happening around us. There's lots of things going on around us. But as we evolve and become more intellectually open to these ideas, more things will be revealed to us, and we will start to see things. And it's just like our pets. When our pets look at us, they don't look at us and see you and me like we see each other. What they see is an energy being. So when we take off these human costumes, we are all the same. We are all connected. And that's what they want me to help people to understand, that we are all connected. We are all the same. Everything in this world is alive, and they love everything. So they will not let us play with nuclear weapons and things of destruction, because not only would it be harmful to us, but what about all the plants and the animals, our marine life, the air, everything, all that bad weapons and technology would bleed and ripple into the universe. And they're not going to let that happen, because we are not the only things in the universe, and we are not the only thing on this planet that they love. They love the water, the air, the trees, everything.
Who has been feeding humanity misinformation?
Well, that would be our governments. And from what I understand, my perception of this is that for the last 100 years or more, there have been fractions of humanity, fractions of military, and fractions of government that do not wish for humanity to ascend and become more intelligent. They like to keep us dumbed down. So we have toxins in our foods, our waters, and in our air, and that helps keep us dumbed down. Our pineal gland has shrunk because of all these toxins. So that's another thing they want us to learn and accept, that we do not have to live the way that we're living now, and we do not have to be a puppet controlled by these different fractions of society or surroundings that try to manipulate us and keep us dumbed down. As long as they can keep us dumbed down, they are in power. But once we evolve, and becoming more intelligent, we're going to outgrow these old ways of living and thinking. Wars, all these things happen to keep humanity separated, always in a trauma, always in separation. The goal for them is to teach us how to realize we are all one, come together, work as one. And this will not happen overnight, but we have to start somewhere. And they are here waiting on us. So it's time for us to start. And this is just the beginning of it, of the process.
Last week, I had 2 different guests tell me that there are caves underground with hybrid human gray beings waiting to be released on the planet once the population of humans have decreased. Do you know anything about that?
I don't believe that. The reason why is because interdimensionals are full of love. And they always told me this was going to be a very hard job to do, to convince people, because there's so much negativity in the world around us. Our media, all these things are there because they're instruments of misinformation, which keeps everybody confused, upset. And that is not a way that we should have to live. We should be living a life of not worrying from working 9 to 5, living paycheck to paycheck. There should be no poverty. There should be no diseases. But you have to understand, all these big companies are owned by different individuals that do not want us to be a healthy human race. if we didn't need pharmaceuticals, they wouldn't have these millions of dollars. So they like us to be sick and unhealthy. So that's why all our foods and all these things and these synthetic drugs that they give us are really not, our bodies aren't designed for these kind of things. And the thing is they've kept us so dumbed down that we don't even realize that we've lost all these wonderful capabilities that humans have. We're very unique. We have the capability of healing ourselves. I'm not saying that we could instantly fix everything, but by living different lifestyles and having more positive attitudes, eating better foods, and just a different way of living and thinking, we can learn to heal ourselves in a lot of ways. And so we have a lot to learn, and they understand all this. And that's another reason why I think that they have had incarnates come here, because they've always known that this day was coming. All these timelines are already laid out. Disclosure is going to happen. How it all happens, I could not tell you, but it is happening, and it is going to continue, and it is going to happen. They are here, and it's happening. So, but what better way for them to really know what it's like to be a human being than send incarnates like me? They have been with me all my life, and they have been instrumental in my life and always been there and let me know that they were there. So they know firsthand what it's like to see a human being go through personal experiences, and everybody's different, but through all the ones, and I'm sure there's probably a million people like me, they have seen firsthand what it's like for humans, all these emotions and things that they don't have. They get a firsthand knowledge of all that. And every time that I go and every time that they visit with someone, one of the main things that they're doing is checking on your evolutionary state, your mental state, all these things, your social evolution, all these things play important roles on how we evolve as a future generation. And the way I see it is that we are the stepping steps of the greatest thing that's ever happened to humanity. And it's not going to happen overnight, but it is starting to happen, and these things will unfold. And we have wonderful, wonderful things ahead of us if we accept we're not alone in the universe. We accept that interdimensional extraterrestrials are real, and they are here to assist, not overthrow, not fix everything, not change our ways altogether. Assist and help us to become better human beings, become galactic human beings.
So I guess you're saying that there are no bad ETs out there.
I'm not saying that. I believe that some people have had experiences that I have not had. So how could I say that their experience is not true? Because we're all different, and I understand that. And I do know that, just like I was telling you, there's different fractions of humans and a lower realm of extraterrestrials, and say the cabal or black hats. All these things do not want us to evolve. And then one of the main reasons is because they are locked in. Lower dimensional extraterrestrials are locked into this dimension. Okay. Human beings have the potential to become interdimensional. So they don't want us to evolve. We will not need them anymore when this happens. We will outgrow them. We will have no need for them, and they will be powerless. So they do not want this ascension, and they do not want us to become any smarter than we already are, because they like their power and that's all they've got, but they're losing it and they know it. And that's why you see these wars and things going on. All these different things are instruments that they use to discourage the influence from the interdimensionals, because the more chaotic the world is, the less you believe things. So what I tell people as far as this war, do not pick a side. War is wrong. Neither side is right. Pray for peace. Don't pick a side. Just pray for peace. So That way, you're not feeding into any negative energy in either of those ways, because war is wrong, and it doesn't matter who started it or who you think is right. War is wrong.
Have they given you an urgent message for humanity?
Yes, they are here. They want to help us, and they are very patient. They've been very patient with me. It took me a long time to get over my fears, to get over just to understand what was happening to me. And I understand that they'll be this patient with humanity. They understand all these things, and they are not going to push us into anything. They're waiting for the whole world, not just a few little nations. They're waiting for the whole world to be ready.
Well, that seems like it may take a long time.
Well, things are going to happen, and it's just whether we wake up in time and understand it all, that's a different story. I don't know. I'll be the first to tell you, I do not know everything. I only know my perceptions and my experiences and the way I was told and the way I perceived it. And that's, so.
Well, do you have any type of timeline when full disclosure will happen?
Well, they are here. And you have to understand that government disclosure and extraterrestrial interdimensional disclosure is a totally different thing. The government, and I know nothing about that, of course, but I know that they know they're here, and they have to start getting us prepared. And what I think is that the government is waiting for the James Webb Telescope to find something. And then that would be just a wonderful way for the world to find out that we're not alone. And they're hoping that maybe they won't have to disclose some of the bad things that have been done to hide this all from us. But the interdimensionals and the good ETs, they're here, and they're waiting on us. They're waiting on us to get our vibrational levels, frequencies up, and to just accept the fact that we're not alone, accept them. And they are not gods. They are not here to do us any harm. They are millions of years ahead of us in technology. Our physics and our technology does not apply to them. They are so far ahead of that, So we would not even be here having this conversation if they didn't want us to be here. That's not it.
Well, speaking of technology, have you been on a craft? And if so, what did it look like on the inside?
It is very white, very bright. It's like sterile white and just huge. Usually from the outside, if you see a craft, it doesn't look that big, but once you go on the inside, it's unbelievable. It's huge.
Do you see any control stations or anything, or is everything run telepathically?
A lot of things are telepathic. I know that their craft is a living being, and the pilot is he is, when he's born, that's he's genetically designed to be a pilot, and he and the craft are one. So the pilot can just think of a destination, and then the craft takes him there.
It's kind of like that show Farscape. Have you seen
It's
that?
a little bit like that, yeah. Only they don't have the little gray guy sitting up in the thing. But the craft is a living being. And, I know it sounds all kind of strange, but it is real. It is very real.
Did working for the DOD have any effect on your contact?
No. Everything I realize now, everything in my life has happened for a reason, good or bad. It was a learning experience for me. So they've always wanted me to have the full experience. So even now, I did work for the Department of Defense, and I did have a security clearance. And the reason for that is because I worked with majors and commanders and things of this nature. So all of us had to have one. And it was nothing to do with extraterrestrials or interdimensionals at all. I just happened to be in dentistry. I was the civilian that went to work for them, and they sent me to a teaching institution at Schofield Barracks in Oahu. And, and that's where I went to work at first.
Where did you grow up when you were a child?
In Tennessee.
Is that
I grew up in Tennessee.
Is that near any type of military base?
Well, Tennessee has a nuclear power plant, big time. And it was close to an Air Force post. It's called AEDC, but I don't think that really makes any difference, to be honest with you. They can pretty much do what they want to. So, you asked me earlier, I do think that people that have had what they call abductions, that is a totally different set of, I think that's either a lower realm of extraterrestrials. Interdimensionals have no need for things like that. I went through menopause when I was in my 40s, and I've never been in I've never had those kind of experiences. So, and they would have been done with me when I hit 40. And that's not the case. This is totally different type. A contactee it's a lifelong experience, and most likely is a incarnate from an extraterrestrial world of some sort. But I think an abductee, I think it's real. And I think most of those are one-time experiences, or it could be, some people, it could have been something different and they didn't understand it, because I understand there's a lot of fear involved. It took me a long time to be able to have more conscious time, because even when I say I'm ready, I can have, please allow me more conscious time. Sometimes you just can't help it. You just get overwhelmed. And when you start getting overwhelmed with anxiety and fear, whatever you feel, they feel 10 times more, because they're not used to having these type of emotions. So that's why they'll put me in a trance state where and it's like I'm in a trance I'm fully functional, but then my memories are more fragmented when that happens. And a lot of people have that happen.
Have you ever had an implant?
If I did, it would have been when I was younger. Now they have me vibrating at a very high frequency that I am aware, just like a snap of a fingers, they are here. I know. I wake up, raise up, and then I see. And if they're for me, as long as I am calm and collective, we can have a conscious experience. If I'm not, they'll tap me out and then do whatever it is I'm supposed to be doing.
Do you think the fear response is our body's reaction to their body vibrating at a different frequency?
Yes. It's very strange sensation. It's very hard to understand, because you really, when you first experience, you don't know what it is. You just know that you're not in control of your body. That's scary enough as it is. And a lot of times too, like, for example, before I got to understanding about my children, well, the first time that I saw my children being taken, they were very small. And we were at a hotel in Key West in a Marriott, and we were on the beach. And I woke up because I sensed their presence, and it was 3 grays, and they were wearing, these were not the grays that come from me. These were little short grays. And they had on robes and high collars around their neck. And they pushed me down in the bed and said, "This is not about you." And then they put me in a sleep paralysis, because they went around and started getting my kids. And I was wanting to scream, I want to go with them. They would not let me speak. They would not let me move. So there is no negotiating. When they come, they're there for a task, and there is no negotiation. So I witnessed my children being taken Well, it was the first time that I saw them being taken, and they were small children.
So to me, it sounds like they're being taken against their will. And
No, at first it might seem that way, but it's strange. It's like you have this inner knowing. You have a fear, but you have an inner knowing too. You know, and you just have to kind of like accept the experience. I don't know how to explain it to you, but it is a great love. They feel like a dolphin. I've touched them and felt them and caressed them, and they feel like a dolphin, and they're a little cold feeling. But it does take you time to get kind of used to all this. But when you realize, as you grow into this, and the more conscious you are, and you learn a better understanding of what it all meant and how it kind of all flows in. I think if you'll even talk to Travis Walton, he'll tell you what he first thought about it and what he thinks about it now. It's two different stories. He realizes now they saved his life. So
even though there's no negotiating,
you can't talk.
You still believe what they're doing for you is for your highest good.
Yes, they're doing an exam to check your evolution, to see how you're evolving, your understanding of your experiences with them, and how you're able to balance it between your human life and this life. So they're constantly checking your mentality, and constantly your spiritual growth, all these things. And this does not happen overnight. This is something I started at birth. And here I am now, 63, talking to people about this. I, started trying to get ready for this in my 50s, but they always tell me you'll know when you're ready. And now is the time.
Is there ever any physical pain involved?
Oh, no. I honestly promise you, it is all about love, and they do everything they can to make it as comfortable as possible. A lot of times they'll change their image into different images that they'll pull from your mind to make you more comfortable with your surroundings. They can change the imagery around you to make you more comfortable. So they do everything they can to try to make it as comfortable, because they know that this is not an easy thing to come to grips with. And it's a learning process. It is.
Have you seen the ETs that were shown in Mexico?
Absolutely.
And are those real in your opinion?
Yes. I've never seen any like that. And I still don't understand what the plate in the breast purpose would be, but I do believe they're real. And one reason why I believe they're real is because I saw the radiographs, and they were 3D image radiographs. A normal radiograph is just like you take a picture of a tooth and you see just the front side of it. Mm-hmm. With their radiographs, it was 3D imaging, where you could actually take a bone. You don't just see the front side of the bone. You can actually look down and see on the inside of the bones, every vein, capillary, etc. So with that type of technology, they would be able to tell if there was any grafts put on by say take a graft from another animal and put on there. You would be able to tell that using that type of 3D imaging. And that was one of the things they said. They had no tinkering with, no tinkering done whatsoever. And the fact that they also talked about the metal in that plate in their chest were from metals that we don't have here on Earth. I believe it is. And if you stand them up and look side by side to what you have seen pictures of the Roswell type gray, they're just like a smaller version of that, really. The long hands and the slender bodies. So, and the female gray she's taller, but she's pretty much is the same build, the longer arms and that head, the kind of the bulbous in the back of the head. So yeah, I believe they're real.
Has she ever told you her name?
No, I never ask her. I call her my ET mother, and I don't do that. I know a lot of things, but the fact that I know when I am up there on craft, I have a group of peers watching me, evaluating me, checking out all these things about me. And I think, well, I have family there, and my family, they are watching me and they're waiting on me. But right now, I have a family. I'm a grandmother and a mother, and this is very, very important to me. So there's certain things I know probably in my subconscious, but my conscious side, there's a lot of things I'm not ready to know right now because I love being a grandma. I love being a mother, and I don't want to be interfered with my life here, and they don't want me to.
Do you think that you are a gray human hybrid that looks mostly human?
No, I'm an interdimensional from a humanoid race, but I couldn't tell you which one.
Would you consider yourself a starseed?
Yes. Yes, most definitely. And even before I know what I know now, even as a child, I always looked to the stars and felt like that was my home, was up there. Always. And I've taught my children the same thing because they are experiencers now. And I believe they are starseeds as well. I pretty much know it.
I guess you could say that the ETs are using you for a purpose.
Yeah, but it's a good purpose. And now I'll have to say it, now that I understand everything, I'm happier than I've ever been in my life, because before I always questioned, why are these things happening to me? Why? This is weird, but I understand it all now, and everything has happened for a reason. And I understand that we are here in a vessel, and when we die, our soul and our consciousness goes up to a creator source. By the way, they believe in a creator source, and they all have souls. And our soul, once it leaves here on earth, we go to the creator source, and then we go before the elders of many different dimensions. And it is decided whether we choose to incarnate here on earth again for experiences, or if we incarnate in some extraterrestrial form. When we finally get to a point where we feel like we've experienced all these things and we want to stay in the physical, non-physical, etheric energy being, we can do that. And that's pretty much in the highest dimensions. And that's where would be close to creator source, is which are equivalent of what we call God, they call creator source. And of course, they don't have all the human terminology and stuff like that.
Would it be fair to say that ETs believe in God?
They believe in their creator source, and that is their equivalent of what we call God. Yeah, but they call it creator source.
You mentioned that there's a government disclosure and an ET disclosure. Will there ever be a time when the ETs will just land their ship in Walmart parking lot so we can all see it?
Well, it wouldn't be Walmart parking lot, but at some point, and I don't know where it would be in the world, but it would be a place of safety, for one, a lot of nature. You have to understand, they are not the type of beings. They don't impress. What they do is what they do. It would be what I would see is them somewhere just absolutely beautiful in a nature setting. And if we decide to show whatever part of humanity want to show up for it, that would be great. But there's never going to be landing at a parking lot or at the White House or there. It would be somewhere where maybe where a lot of indigenous people are that have a love for nature, because that's one thing that they really expressed to me back in September of this year. All the innocent bystanders of Earth, they have do not know of these wars, do not know of these technology and all these things. There's so many things that we take for granted about our planet and the people on it, and they don't. They see it as a whole. And so that's why I say it would be at a place where there's a lot of love and harmony and full of the things they love, which is everything on this planet. It would just be a beautiful place, I would think.
I mentioned earlier that your website is called timefordisclosure.com. What kind of content is posted there?
I am leaning, before it was just kind of different things, but now I'm leaning towards putting more of my experiences and also adding the podcast that I've done too, because everybody asks me something different. So it brings out a little different information. So, but I will be continuing to add other, like disclosure updates and things of this nature, things of grave importance to humanity. I'm very humanity oriented.
How often are you contacted?
A lot. Even when it's not face to face, it's always in dream state, one way or another. It's very often, almost all the time.
Like almost every night?
Yeah.
Well, after watching this podcast, people may want to reach out to you and ask you questions.
Sure.
How do they reach you?
Well, I don't mind if you give them my email, or actually on the website, timefordisclosure.com, there is a contact me on there, and they can ask me questions on a forum. They can ask me questions, or then they can make comments, whatever they want to do. So they can reach me. That would probably be the best way. And then I do have a Facebook group, and it's called Time for Disclosure / We've Never Been Alone. And that is a group for experiencers, regardless of whether it's abductee or contactee, for experiencers to share their stories, and a place to obtain information and find out about places that are helpful to experiencers. Like, for example, there's lots of get-togethers for experiencers. So I try to keep all those kind of things posted, because not everybody has people at home they can talk to. So there always is good to have a place, in a safe place. So,
do you ever see UFOs in the night sky? And
I have all my life.
Well, do you have pictures of them?
No.
You think they'd let you take them?
I don't know. I really don't know. When I've been up on craft, I've thought about like taking something, but you have to understand, I've had my disclosure, so I don't need those kind of affirmations. And I'm not trying to impress anyone or make any money or profit off these things. So I don't have a need for that kind of thing. So I just kind of leave it at face value. Everybody has a right to make their own decisions about these things, because you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink it. So I can give you information. If you want to know more, I'll be glad to tell you, but I'm not going to force it on you. Everybody's on their own spiritual path. Everybody's got their own things they're working on in their lives. Not everybody is ready for this. So believe it or not, that's up to every individual to decide. I don't feel like I have a need for that.
You have a book or anything?
No. I don't do anything to make money. This is purely This is not a money-making thing.
All right.
This is something that I've been groomed to do, and that's what I'm doing.
Well, before we finish up, can you give us one last positive message?
I think everybody should learn to respect one another, realize that we are all one and that we are all connected. Everyone needs to look and find who they are within, not all these things that have made you, the society around you, and all the things that pull at you. Not those things, but the inner self. Find who you are in your inner self. So as we go through disclosure and come with these new concepts of thinking, look within and decide how you feel in your heart and your gut feeling on things. Everybody should make their own mind, and they should do their own homework within themselves.
Nancy, thank you for your message, and thank you for being my guest.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.